Good afternoon or good morning, everybody. Welcome to week 6 of our school year. Good to see you. I am going to go over a few little reminders and announcements this morning before we get to reading our agenda. First things first, I'm sure you guys know by now that next week on the 29th, we will be switching over to our hybrid learning schedule. Some of you have chosen to stay home and do distance learning for now at least. And then some of you have chosen to come back to school in person for hybrid learning. And you'll be finding out this week whether you are in cohort A or cohort B. It doesn't really matter other than that tells you which days to go to school and which days that you'll be learning from home. But you'll be learning the exact same things just on different days. So with that being said, if you are returning to school and you're coming to class physically, I will see you in person on the 29th. 2 things I want you to make sure that you bring with you. 3 things I want you to make sure that you bring with you. 1, you will have to bring with you your Chromebook. And if you've been using a laptop that's your own personal laptop instead, you can choose to bring that to school or check out a Chromebook from school. Make sure that it's charged. Also, you'll need to bring with you and obviously wear a mask at all times. So the second you step out of the car on campus, you need to be wearing a mask and you will not take it off for the whole day. Also, one thing that for my class in particular, you need to have is a pair of headphones. If I want you guys to be listening to an Edpuzzle or doing something independently on your Chromebook, I want you to make sure that you have headphones. So those need to be headphones that are compatible with the little plug in your Chromebook, not wireless ones. So things like earpods will not connect. There's no Bluetooth connectivity to your Chromebook. So make sure that you have a pair of earphones for yourself. And if you don't right now, make sure you get one here in the next week. There's little cheap ones all over the place that you can buy for like $5. So make sure you have that with you, please, when you come to school. Also, a little announcement for you. Tomorrow on Tuesday, your progress report grades are going to be submitted by all your teachers. Tomorrow is the deadline. So if you have anything that looks funky in your Aries gradebook right now, make sure you contact me today. Otherwise, that will be reflected in your progress report grade. 2 more things. The first thing is your pitch assignment, where you guys pitched your short story ideas to me, has been returned to you as of this morning. So please make sure that you go and actually look at my feedback. Some of you, I asked you to fix something that was really important and actually resubmit it in order to get that grade in the grade book and to be able to move on to our next stage of pre-writing, which will happen this week. So it's very important that your pitch is approved and I've given you the green light. If you haven't turned that in yet, please do that as soon as possible and let me know so that I can get to it and give you some feedback on that. Also, there was the video last week where we went over some pre-writing and planning strategies for your short story. That was an Edpuzzle video. And not a lot of people did that. So that's a little concerning. Make sure that you go watch that. And at the end of that video, you had an opportunity to ask some questions that I would answer about the short story writing assignment. There weren't very many questions, but I do want to address a few important ones really quick. So somebody asked, can the story be about anything? Yes, your story can absolutely be about anything. You guys, I was so impressed by so many of your story ideas and your pitches. I was so impressed and I'm so excited to read them. So yes, your story can be about anything. The only thing I will say is keep it PG-13, please. Nobody really wrote anything where I had to be like, whoa, friend. But just please keep that in mind that we are still doing a project for school. So keep it appropriate. The next person asked, how can I write about a lot of time passing? So you don't want a short story to be taking place over like 10 years, right? So if you want to show that time has passed, you can use a tool like Flash Forward, where you would end the paragraph and then the next paragraph would be clearly taking place in the future, and you would show that to the audience somehow, either with your words or by putting a date or something like that. Same thing goes for if you want to have your story set in a certain time and have your character think back vividly to a past event, you can use flashback in that setting. So please don't try to cover years and years and years and years and years worth of description. Just use a tool like Flash Forward or Flashback. The next question, how many paragraphs does it need to be? So I usually hate putting length requirements on things, because my most important requirement for you is to tell a good story. And you guys have your rubric available to you to show you what I'm grading you on. In the instructions, it does say that your story needs to be a minimum of 3 pages, but I'm not going to tell you paragraphs, because remember, when we're including dialogue in our story, if 2 people are having a conversation, you need to start a new paragraph each time someone talks. So it would be silly for me to tell you how many paragraphs your story has to be. I'll stick with the idea of 3 pages or more. Last question. Oh, that was the last question. Okay, so if you did not watch the Edpuzzle about the planning and pre-writing of your short story and get a chance to ask me a question, please do that this week, because there's a lot of tips on there about things that you can consider when you're getting ready to write your short story. So we'll be doing another pre-writing activity this week. And let me go ahead and show you your Bitmoji classroom for this week, and we'll look at our agenda. So your Bitmoji classroom this week, welcome to week 6, authors. You'll notice up here in the corner, there is a poster that is new. That is for our virtual Spirit Week this week, which I'll show you in a minute. There's also a link there, so if you want to click that and check it out. And if we click on our agenda for this week, we see a link here also for that virtual Spirit Week. So Mask Monday, that's today. Too Tired Tuesday, This or That Wednesday, Throwback Thursday, and Hawk Spirit Friday. And you can engage with those things on Insta or in any of your classes. Monday, today, you're watching this video first, and then today's attendance task is also kind of our classwork. It is on a website called Padlet, and there's a link to it in your Google Classroom. And the idea of this lesson today is called Said is Dead. So I'll say more about that in a second. So make sure you watch till the end of this video. And then your homework today is to finish the assignment that we started last week, your internal monologue and dialogue practice assignment. It is due before our next class. So make sure that you complete that today. Tuesday or Wednesday class, you'll have an attendance task about punctuation in your dialogue. We will begin our next pre-writing activity for your short story. And I'll have a video introducing that assignment alongside with the directions for that assignment. So make sure you watch that video so it explains exactly what I want you to do. Also, make sure you've read my feedback on your pitch assignment. You should all have that back by now. You need to read that before you go ahead with this storyboarding assignment. And then homework is to work on that storyboarding assignment, but it will not be due until the following week. So you have a few days to work on that. Thursday and Friday class, you are going to watch an Edpuzzle presentation on a technique called showing not telling, also known as second by second narration. And watching that video counts as your attendance task. So you have to do that during class. And then your homework is going to be a writing activity where you practice that skill, and that will be posted on your Google Classroom. So that is what your homework is for Thursday/Friday. Also, there's no Zoom class this week. So make sure that you are watching any pre-recorded videos that I set up for you. Last thing, do not forget, we don't have school on Monday the 28th, and then Tuesday the 29th is that first day of the hybrid schedule. So you should have received an email, or your parents should have received an email, and that hybrid schedule can also be found on your Instagram for the school and also on your Hawk Happenings newsletter that is sent out every week by the school. Okay, so really quick before you go, today's assignment, said is dead. So when we are writing short stories and we're including dialogue and internal monologue, which is what we were focused on last week, a lot of times we get into a trap of having our dialogue be really boring and repetitive and using the word said for everything. Why did you do that? Sheila said. What's going on here? Brian said. I want some, Billy said. Said, right? But as authors, we need to use a variety of different verbs. So the word said is a verb and it's an action word, right? And when we are doing different types of actions, we need different verbs to describe them. So if I was walking along, I could use the word walking to describe that. Or if I was doing it with like style, I could use the word strutting. Or if I was doing it slowly, I could use the word meandering, right? So there are so many different words in our own vocabulary, in our lexicons. Our lexicons are the dictionary that lives in your brain of words that you already know how to use. There are so many different types of verbs in our lexicon for when we speak, right? And so this Padlet assignment is going to ask you to come up with different examples of words that we could use to replace the word said. So said is dead to you unless it's actually the best fit for that piece of dialogue you're creating. But normally there is a different word, shouted, screamed, whispered, right? A lot of different verbs that we can use to be more specific and to give the audience more information about how that dialogue is actually being spoken. So today's activity on that Padlet is said is dead, and you're going to be working together to come up with lists of verbs that we can use in our dialogue. So this will be a resource for you as well as you are writing your short story. So head on over to Padlet. I'll be there with you, monitoring and approving your different posts as you post them. And if you have questions, just message me on Remind or send me an email. All right, Hawks, have a great week.